The shuttle shook as it dropped through the thick orange clouds of Varathi Prime. Taiho Park held tight to his seat and watched the world appear below him. Forests of black trees stretched in every direction. Rivers cut through the land like silver veins. Somewhere down there, the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy were waiting. He was going to live with them. "You know, this is crazy, right?" Yuna's voice came through his earpiece. She was still on the orbital station above, watching his descent on her screens. "The Varathi eat things bigger than you for breakfast." "Literally. That's why they sent a xenobiologist," Taiho said. He tried to sound calm. His heart was beating very fast. "I study predators. This is what I do." "You studied Earth predators, lions, wolves, things that don't have 4 arms and claws that can cut through metal. The principles are the same." Yuna made a sound that meant she did not believe him. Taiho smiled a little. She was probably right to worry. But he had wanted this assignment since the moment he heard about it. The Varathi were a mystery. They had space travel. They had technology. But they still lived in packs, still hunted their food, still followed the old ways of fang and claw. The Galactic Council had tried for 50 years to understand them. Nobody had succeeded. Maybe a human could do what the others could not. The shuttle landed in a clearing near a research outpost. The outpost was small and made of strong metal. It had to be. The local wildlife was not friendly. Taiho grabbed his bags and stepped out into the warm air of Varathi Prime. Everything smelled different here, rich and wild and alive. The trees were 3 times taller than any tree on Earth. Strange birds with too many wings flew overhead. In the distance, something very large made a sound that shook his chest. Taiho took a deep breath. He was really here. The first week was spent at the outpost. There were 4 other humans there, all scientists and diplomats. They taught Taiho the rules. Never run. Never show fear. Never look an adult Varathi directly in the eyes for too long. Never, ever touch a cub. "They're protective," said Dr. Bora, the team leader. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. "Their cubs are everything to them. If they think you're a threat to the young ones, they will kill you. No questions. No second chances." Taiho nodded and wrote this down. On the 8th day, they took him to meet the pack. The Varathi lived in a settlement about 2 kilometers from the outpost. It was not like a human village. There were no straight rows or neat houses. Instead, there were dens built into the hillside, curved structures made of stone and bone, and open spaces where the pack gathered to eat and rest, and there were the Varathi themselves. Taiho had seen pictures. He had watched videos, but nothing prepared him for seeing them in person. They were tall, most of them over 2 meters. Their bodies were covered in short fur that ranged from dark brown to silver gray. They had 4 arms, 2 large and 2 smaller, and their hands ended in curved claws. Their faces were somewhere between a wolf and something else entirely. Large golden eyes, long snouts filled with sharp teeth, ears that moved and turned to catch every sound. They were beautiful. They were terrifying. Taiho could not stop staring. A female approached the human group. She was larger than most of the others, and she moved with a power that made Taiho's legs want to run. This was Rix, the hunt mother. Dr. Bora had told him about her. She was one of the pack's leaders, responsible for organizing hunts and protecting the young. Rix stopped in front of Taiho and looked down at him. Her golden eyes studied his face, his body, his hands. She sniffed the air around him. "This is the one who will watch us," she said. Her voice was deep and rough. The translator implant in Taiho's ear made the words sound strange, but he understood them. "He is small, soft, no claws. No fangs. He is a scientist," Dr. Bora said carefully. "He studies predators. He wants to learn about your people. Learn." Rix made a sound that might have been a laugh. What can a prey creature learn about hunters? Taiho knew he should stay quiet. He knew the protocols, but something made him speak. "I have learned about many hunters," he said. His voice was steady even though his hands were shaking. "Lions, wolves, sharks, they all thought they had nothing to learn from humans too. They were wrong. The pack went silent. Every eye turned to him. Taiho felt his heart stop. Then Rix made that sound again. This time, it was definitely a laugh. "Brave words from a soft creature," she said. "We will see if you can survive long enough to learn anything." She turned and walked away. The other Varathi followed. But one stayed behind. It was small. A cub, maybe the size of a human child. Its fur was fluffy and dark, and its eyes were huge in its young face. It stared at Taiho from behind a rock, watching him with open curiosity. Taiho felt something warm in his chest. The cub was not afraid of him. That was interesting. Dr. Bora pulled him away before he could look too long. "Don't," she warned. "Remember what I told you." But as they walked back to the outpost, Taiho could not help but glance over his shoulder. The cub was still watching him. He did not know it yet, but that cub would change everything. 3 weeks passed on Varathi Prime. Taiho fell into a routine. Every morning he walked to the pack's territory. Every evening he walked back to the outpost. In between, he watched and wrote and tried to understand. The Varathi were fascinating. They hunted together in perfect coordination, using sounds and scents that humans could not detect. They shared food with the old and the young first. They played rough games that looked like fighting, but were actually full of joy. Their society was complex and beautiful, and Taiho filled notebook after notebook with his observations. Slowly, the pack grew used to him. They stopped baring their teeth when he came near. Some of them even nodded at him in greeting. Rix, the hunt mother, still watched him with those sharp golden eyes, but she no longer looked like she wanted to eat him. Progress. Small progress. But progress. The cub was always there. Taiho learned that his name was Keth. He was young, maybe 5 years old in human terms, and he was curious about everything. While the adult Varathi kept their distance from the human, Keth had no such caution. He followed Taiho at a distance, hiding behind rocks and trees, those big eyes always watching. Taiho pretended not to notice. He remembered Dr. Bora's warning. Never touch a cub. Never show too much interest. The adults were always watching, always ready to protect their young, but Keth was getting braver every day. It happened on a warm afternoon. Taiho was crouched near the edge of the settlement, collecting samples of a strange purple plant. His equipment was spread around him. His focus was on his work. He had almost forgotten where he was. Then he felt something grab his boot. Taiho looked down. Keth was there, lying on his belly in the dirt, both small arms wrapped around Taiho's foot. The cub's mouth was open, and he was chewing on the reinforced leather with great determination. His small fangs scraped against the material. His tail wagged back and forth. Taiho froze. He could feel eyes on him. The adults, Rix, they were all watching, waiting to see what the human would do. The protocol was clear. Stay still. Do not react. Wait for the cub to lose interest and go away. Any sudden movement could be seen as a threat. Any response could trigger a protective attack. Taiho knew all of this. He had studied it. He had practiced it, but Keth looked up at him with those huge golden eyes, and his little mouth made a playful growling sound. And something in Taiho's brain stopped working properly. Maybe it was the years of working with Earth predators. Maybe it was the exhaustion of weeks of careful, controlled behavior. Maybe it was simply the fact that the cub was so incredibly cute. Whatever the reason, Taiho leaned down until his face was close to Keth's furry ear. The cub's eyes went wide with surprise. And then Taiho opened his mouth, showed his flat human teeth, and pretended to bite the cub's ear. "Nom," he said softly. The world went silent. Keth had frozen, his mouth still on Taiho's boot. Every adult Varathi in the area had stopped moving. Rix was standing 20 meters away, her body perfectly still, her golden eyes fixed on Taiho with an intensity that made his blood run cold. Oh no, Taiho thought. What did I just do? He slowly pulled back. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. This was it. This was how he died. Eaten by angry alien predators, because he could not control his silly human instincts. Yuna's voice exploded in his earpiece. Taiho, your heart rate just went crazy. What's happening? Do you need extraction? He could not answer. He could not move. He could only watch as Rix walked toward him with slow, deliberate steps. The hunt mother stopped in front of him. She was so close he could feel the heat from her body. She leaned down, and for a terrible moment, Taiho was certain she was going to rip out his throat. Instead, she pressed her nose against his neck. She breathed in deeply, once, twice, 3 times. The air rumbled with a sound too low for human ears to hear properly. Then she spoke. "Pack claim acknowledged," the translator said. "The soft one has teeth after all." Taiho blinked. "What?" But Rix had already turned away. And then something amazing happened. Keth, no longer frozen, climbed up onto Taiho's lap. The cub pressed his face against Taiho's chest, rubbing back and forth, making happy sounds. Other cubs appeared from hiding places all around. They ran toward Taiho, piling on top of him, sniffing him. Touching him with their small clawed hands, Taiho fell backward under the weight of 6 Varathi cubs. They were everywhere. On his chest. On his legs. One was trying to chew on his hair. Another was licking his face with a rough tongue. "Taiho!" Yuna shouted. "Answer me!" "Are you dying?" "No," Taiho said, and he started to laugh. He could not help it. It was too strange, too wonderful, too completely unexpected. "No, I think I'm being adopted. What does that mean?" Taiho looked up at the orange sky of Varathi Prime, covered in purring predator cubs, and smiled. "I have absolutely no idea." But somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that everything had just changed. The bite he had given in play was not a game to the Varathi. It was an answer to an old question. "Are you one of us?" And without knowing it, Taiho had said yes. The news spread fast. By the time Taiho returned to the outpost that evening, every human on Varathi Prime had heard what happened. Dr. Bora met him at the door with a face that was half worried and half amazed. The other scientists stared at him like he had grown a second head. "You bit a cub," Dr. Bora said. "I pretended to bite a cub," Taiho corrected. "There's a difference, is there? To the Varathi?" Taiho did not have an answer for that. Yuna arrived from the orbital station the next morning. She had demanded to come down in person, saying she needed to see this with her own eyes. When she found Taiho eating breakfast in the outpost kitchen, she sat down across from him and stared. "Explain," she said. "I can't really explain," Taiho admitted. "It just happened. You play-bit an alien predator cub, and now their entire pack thinks you're one of them. How does that just happen?" "I don't know. Instinct, maybe." Taiho put down his spoon. "When Keth bit my boot, he was playing. Testing me. I could see it in his eyes. He wanted to know how I would react. And something in me just ... responded." Yuna shook her head slowly. "The reports from the translators say Rix called it a pack claim. Do you understand what that means?" "Not entirely. Neither do our experts. But they're very excited." She pulled out a tablet and showed him a screen full of messages. "Everyone wants to know more. The diplomats think this could be a breakthrough. The scientists think you've discovered something important about Varathi social behavior. And the military ... The military? They want to know if this can be repeated, if humans can somehow integrate with Varathi packs on a larger scale." Yuna's eyes were serious. "This is bigger than you realize, Taiho." That afternoon, Taiho returned to the pack's territory. He was not sure what to expect. Maybe the Varathi had changed their minds overnight. Maybe they would pretend nothing had happened. He was wrong on both counts, the moment he entered the settlement. 3 cubs ran toward him. They circled his legs, making happy chirping sounds, reaching up with their small arms. Keth was in the front, his tail wagging so fast it was a blur. "Human came back," Keth said. His young voice was high and eager. "Pack friend came back." Taiho knelt down so he was at the cub's level. "Of course I came back. Where else would I go?" More cubs gathered around him. They touched his hands, sniffed his clothes, patted his hair with curious fingers. The adults watched from a distance, but they did not interfere. Some of them even looked pleased, Rix approached after a few minutes. She moved the cubs aside gently and stood before Taiho. "You returned," she said. "Yes, you did not run. You did not hide." Her golden eyes studied him carefully. "Many soft creatures would have run after what happened yesterday. I'm not most soft creatures." Rix made that low rumbling sound that Taiho was starting to recognize as laughter. "No, you are not." She reached out with one of her large clawed hands and touched his shoulder. The touch was surprisingly gentle. "You answered the challenge. The cubs accept you? I accept you. This is not a small thing. I'm beginning to understand that." "Are you?" Rix tilted her head. "Do you know what a pack claim means? Do you know what you agreed to when you bit back?" Taiho shook his head honestly. "No, but I want to learn." For a long moment, Rix just looked at him. Then she nodded slowly. "The pack claim is old," she said. "Older than our ships. Older than our cities. When a cub tests a stranger with their teeth, they are asking a question. Are you prey? Or are you pack?" She tapped one claw against Taiho's chest, right over his heart. "Most creatures do not answer. They freeze. They fear. They show that they are prey, and we treat them as such. But you answered, I bit back. You bit back. You showed your teeth. You said, I am not prey. I am one of you." Rix's eyes gleamed. "Among our people, this is sacred. A pack claim cannot be ignored. It cannot be taken back. You are marked now, soft one. You belong to us." Taiho felt something shift inside him. This was what he had come for, wasn't it? To understand the Varathi? To bridge the gap between their species. He had not expected to do it like this, but maybe this was exactly what was needed. What happens now? He asked, "Now you learn." Rix turned and gestured for him to follow. "You will eat with us, sleep near us, hunt with us when you are ready. The pack will teach you our ways, and you will teach us yours. And if others object, I'm still an outsider. Still human." Rix stopped walking. She looked back at him with something dangerous in her eyes. "Others may object. My mate has concerns? But I've accepted your claim, and my word carries weight. Anyone who challenges you challenges me." Her fangs showed in what might have been a smile. "They would not dare." Taiho followed the hunt mother deeper into the settlement, surrounded by cubs who would not leave his side. Keth held onto his hand with a tight grip, chattering happily about all the things he would show his new pack friend Dot above. In orbit, Yuna watched the sensor feeds with wide eyes. She was already writing reports, sending messages, trying to make sense of what was happening. The humans had made first contact with the Varathi years ago. They had tried diplomacy, trade, cultural exchange. Nothing had worked, but one man with flat teeth and good instincts had done what all their efforts could not. He had become pack. Not everyone was happy. Teho learned this on his 5th day as a pack member. He was sitting with the cubs, teaching them about earth animals using pictures on his tablet, when a shadow fell over him. He looked up and felt his blood go cold. Dral, the pack alpha, stood before him. Dral was massive, even for a Varathi. His fur was silver-gray, marked with old scars from countless hunts and battles. His forearms were thick with muscle. His golden eyes held no warmth at all as he stared down at the human in his pack. "Stand," Dral said. His voice was like thunder. Taiho stood. The cubs scattered, running to hide behind rocks and in doorways. Even Keth, usually so brave, pressed himself against the ground and whimpered. "You are the one who claims to be pack," Dral said. "The cubs accepted me. Rix accepted me. I answered I know what you answered." Dral stepped closer. He was so tall that Taiho had to tilt his head back to see his face. "My mate believes in old traditions. She sees meaning in children's games. But I am the alpha, I lead this pack. And I did not accept you." Taiho forced himself to breathe. "What do you want me to do?" "Leave. Go back to your little metal box with the other soft creatures. Forget this foolishness, and if I don't..." Dral's lips pulled back to show his fangs. Each one was as long as Taiho's finger. Then you must prove your worth. That is the law. Any who wish to join the pack must show they have value. They must contribute. They must be strong. He looked Taiho up and down with obvious disgust. You are weak, small, your claws are flat. Your teeth are dull. What could you possibly offer us? Before Taiho could answer, Rix appeared at his side. The Hunt Mother's eyes were blazing with anger. You go too far, mate, she growled. The claim was made. The rituals were followed. The rituals are for our kind, not for prey animals who play at being hunters. He answered the challenge. The old ways never imagined something like this. Drawl's voice rose to a roar. Other pack members had gathered around them now, watching with nervous eyes. Look at him, Rix. He cannot hunt. He cannot fight. He cannot even survive one night in the wild without his machines. What use is he to us? Rix opened her mouth to argue, but Taiho stepped forward. I'll prove it, he said. Both Varathi turned to stare at him. You want me to show my worth? Fine, I'll do it. Taiho's heart was pounding, but he kept his voice steady. Tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it. Drawl studied him for a long moment. Then a cruel smile spread across his face. Very well, soft one. If you wish to die, I will not stop you. He turned to address the watching pack. This human has challenged the Alpha's judgment. He claims to have worth despite his weakness. Let him prove it or be cast out in shame. The pack rumbled in response. Some looked excited. Others looked worried. Keth made a small, frightened sound. That night, Taiho called Yuna on his communicator. You're insane, she said immediately. You know that, right? Completely, totally insane. Probably, Taiho admitted. He was sitting alone at the edge of the settlement, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, Yuna was looking back at him. But I can't walk away now. If I run, it proves Drawl right. It proves that humans are just prey. Everything we've built here, everything we've learned, it all falls apart. And if you fail this proving thing, then it also falls apart. But at least I tried. Yuna was quiet for a moment. What's the test? I don't know yet. Rix is going to help me prepare. She said there are different ways to prove worth. Not all of them involve fighting. Well, that's good. Because you would definitely lose a fight. Thank you for the confidence. I'm being realistic. But her voice was softer now. What do you need from me? Information. Everything we have on Varathi hunting practices. Their prey animals. Their techniques. There has to be something I can use. The next few days were the hardest of Taiho's life. Rix trained him from dawn until dark. She taught him how to move quietly, how to read tracks, how to understand the wind and the sounds of the forest. She taught him the signals the hunters used, the silent language of hands and eyes. You cannot be strong like us, she told him. But you can be clever. You can think in ways we do not. That is your weapon. What if it's not enough? Rix placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. Then you will die with honor, and I will sing the death song for you. She paused. But I do not think you will die, soft one. There is something in you. Something that makes me believe. On the 7th day, Drawl summoned the pack together. The human has had time to prepare, he announced. Now let him prove himself. His golden eyes found Taiho in the crowd. You will join our hunters for the next hunt. You will contribute to the kill. If you succeed, you may stay. If you fail? He did not need to finish the sentence. Taiho looked at Keth, who was watching him with wide, frightened eyes. He looked at Rix, who nodded once with quiet confidence. He looked at the other pack members, some hostile, some curious, all waiting to see what the strange soft creature would do. I accept, Taiho said. Drawl smiled his cruel smile. Then prepare yourself. Tomorrow we hunt the thornback. The pack gasped. Even Rix looked shocked. Drawl, that is too much. He wanted to prove himself. Let him prove himself against a real challenge. Drawl turned and walked away, his silver fur shining in the fading light. Tomorrow we see what humans are truly made of. The thornback was a monster, Taiho, saw it for the first time through his scanner as the hunting party crept through the black forest. The creature was 3 times the size of an elephant, covered in thick armor plates that gleamed like dark metal. Massive horns curved from its head. Its legs were like tree trunks. When it breathed, steam rose from its nostrils in angry clouds. "Thornbacks have killed many hunters," Rix whispered beside him. "Their armor turns away our claws. Their horns can break bones with one blow. Drow chose this prey to destroy you, I noticed." Teho kept his eyes on his scanner. He had studied every piece of information about thornbacks that the human databases contained. He knew their biology, their behavior, their weaknesses. But everything has a weakness. And what is this creature's weakness? Teho pointed to a spot on the scanner image. There, between the shoulder plates, where the armor doesn't quite meet. That's where they vent heat from their body. The skin there is soft, unprotected. Rix's eyes widened slightly. "We have never noticed this. You hunt with eyes and noses. I hunt with machines. Different tools, same goal." Teho looked up at her. "Trust me?" For a moment, Rix said nothing. Then she made that rumbling laugh. "You're a strange, soft one. But yes, I trust you." The hunting party moved into position. There were 8 Varathi hunters in all, plus Teho Dral had insisted on leading the hunt himself, watching everything with his cold golden eyes. He expected the human to fail. He wanted to see it happen. Teho had other plans. "The thornback has poor eyesight," he whispered to the hunters through the communication devices Yuna had sent down. "It relies on sound and smell. If we approach from downwind and stay quiet, we can get close." "And then what?" Dral's voice was mocking. "We cannot pierce its armor. We don't need to. Not if we're smart about this." Teho pulled out a small device from his pack. "This emits a high-frequency sound. Thornbacks hate it. It will make the creature angry and confused. I'll use it to drive the creature toward the ravine to the east. When it's close to the edge, you hit the weak spot I marked." Dral growled. "You want us to follow your orders? You a prey animal?" "I want us to work together. Different strengths, same goal." Teho met the Alpha's eyes without flinching. "You're stronger than me, faster, deadlier, but I can see things you can't. I know things you don't. Let me use what I have." The other hunters looked at Dral, waiting for his decision. For a long moment, the Alpha just stared at Teho, then he made a sharp gesture with one clawed hand. "Fine, show us what soft creatures can do. But if this fails, your blood is on your own hands." Teho nodded. Then he moved. The hunt began. Teho circled around the thornback, staying low and quiet, using everything Rix had taught him. When he reached the right position, he activated his device. A sound too high for him to hear properly filled the air. The thornback's head shot up. It roared with pain and confusion. Then it began to move, stumbling away from the horrible noise. Straight toward the ravine, now. Teho shouted into his communicator. "Drive it from the sides. Don't let it turn." The Varathi hunters sprang into action. They were beautiful to watch, moving like shadows through the trees, their claws flashing in the dim light. They harried the thornback from both sides, keeping it on course, pushing it forward. The creature was panicking now. It ran blindly, unable to think clearly through the pain in its ears. Teho ran behind it, adjusting the frequency, keeping the pressure on. They reached the ravine. The thornback skidded to a stop at the edge, its armored feet digging into the earth. It turned, ready to charge at its tormentors. This was the moment. Teho pulled out a small laser pointer and aimed it at the thornback's shoulder. A red dot appeared on the tiny gap in the armor, exactly where the weak spot was hidden. "There!" he shouted. "Hit it there." Rix moved first. She leaped onto the thornback's back, her claws finding grip on the armor plates. The creature bucked and roared, trying to throw her off. But she held on, positioning herself over the glowing red dot. Then she struck. Her claws sank deep into the soft flesh beneath the armor. The thornback screamed. It stumbled. Other hunters joined the attack. targeting the same spot, widening the wound. With a final, terrible cry, the thornback fell. It crashed onto its side, shaking the ground, and lay still. The hunters stood in silence, breathing hard. Then they began to howl with triumph. Tejo leaned against a tree, exhausted but smiling. They had done it. Against all odds, they had brought down the unbeatable prey. Dral approached him slowly. The Alpha's expression was unreadable. "You did not fight," Dral said. "No, you did not strike the killing blow. No, but without you we would have failed. Many of us might have died." Dral stopped in front of Tejo. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then the Alpha leaned down. His fangs touched Tejo's shoulder. Just lightly. Just enough to leave a mark. "Soft teeth," the translator rendered, "but a sharp mind. You have proven your worth, human." Dral straightened up. "You will teach our cubs this science of yours. You will share your strange knowledge with our hunters. And you will learn to hunt properly. A pack needs all kinds of strength." Tejo felt tears prick at his eyes. "Thank you. Do not thank me. You earned this." Dral's expression softened, just a little. "Perhaps the old ways are not so old after all. Perhaps they knew something we forgot." A small body crashed into Tejo's legs. Keth was there, jumping up and down, his eyes bright with joy. "You did it. You did it? I knew you would." The cub climbed up Tejo's body and wrapped all four arms around his neck. "Pack Friend is a real hunter now." The other hunters gathered around, touching Tejo gently, welcoming him properly for the first time. Rick stood nearby, watching with satisfaction. Far above, on the orbital station, Yuna watched the whole thing on her screens. She was crying and laughing at the same time. The humans had done the impossible. They had bridged the gap between two species that everyone thought could never connect. Not through treaties or trade, but through play and trust and the willingness to try something new, and this was only the beginning. In the months that followed, other Varathi packs would hear the story of the soft creature with teeth. They would grow curious. They would send invitations. More humans would come. More connections would form. The galaxy would never be quite the same. But that night, under the orange sky of Varathi Prime, Tejo Park sat with his pack and ate his share of the thornback meat. Keth fell asleep on his lap, purring contentedly. Rick sat on one side of him, Dral on the other. He was home.